I've had this experience in the past with assessments like what we're talking about today, where it's used as a hiring decision. So paint a scenario for you. So somebody comes in, they've got great experience, and they're applying for a job that they're absolutely qualified for on paper. And they do a great job on the first maybe couple of interviews, a screening interview, and then they maybe talk to a department head. And then they get passed on to do an assessment. And the assessment isn't really in line with what the company's looking for. And that could be ambiguous, what the company is looking for.
Yeah.
So you have somebody who, hard to say whether or not they would do a really good job in the position they're applying for, because they never get hired, right? Because they don't fit the mold. Is that, this may not be a fair question, but what's your perspective on companies using it as a pass-fail versus another data point in figuring out if somebody's going to be good with the organization?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. It's a totally fair question. I don't ever recommend that it be used as a pass-fail, right? It is just another data point. Just as I would never say, because someone has 4.5 years of experience instead of 5, you should immediately boot them out, right? It should be one data point that you use in the process. In fact, the thing that I like about the Traitify assessment is that because we are so quick, we are so easy, and we have such high completion rates, about a 96% completion rate, especially when it's used in line with many of the ATSs that we're in line with, integrated with. Give it early. And then I say, if someone doesn't seem like they're a good match, we have a series of interview questions that we have that you can ask them to explore that more. Right? Because, maybe their personality doesn't look like a great match. Maybe they're a little lower on conscientiousness, for example, than what you would want. But maybe that person has put coping mechanisms in place where they now know how to ask their coworkers to remind them to do things, or right. So these things are not meant to be, and they're good on the aggregate. Like, there are always individual exceptions to every rule, right? We know this. So it should always be a piece of data that you use in the process. If everyone looks great except for this one piece is off, I would say find out why. And if you use it early, you can ask those things in the interview and really kind of get a better sense of whether or not this person's going to be a good fit for your organization or not. And sometimes it'll help you weed out people who looked great on paper, but there's a reason they've lost their last 5 jobs, and it's because they can't get along with people. And sometimes you'll have someone who looks like maybe they wouldn't get their work done, but they can tell you in an interview, they can provide you 4 concrete examples of exactly how they've gotten their work done in the past, right? So then okay, great, now this person is a good fit. So I am not a fan of just chuck people out to chuck them out.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad to hear you say that, because the recruiting, the hiring, the interview process, you can't be lazy when you're doing it, right?
No.
You have to be, so this is, to your point, this is a data point, but you have to sort of have the wherewithal and I guess the bandwidth within the organization to dig deeper on candidates that do look promising, rather than just saying, well, they don't tick all the boxes, or there's one box that is missing. And so they're not going to be a good fit. And again, this sort of circles back to what we were talking about before with trying to get other people to come into hospitality because so many have left.
Yes.
We may be looking at a whole other group of people coming in that maybe don't fit the traditional mold of a hotel or hospitality worker. So that it seems to me like sort of the whole perspective on hospitality recruiting probably isn't shifting yet, but the companies that are going to win maybe in the medium term are the ones that are going to see this in a different way.
I think you're absolutely right. I'm a big fan of, as my friend's always saying, it's a quote from a movie line, but it's improvise, adapt, overcome. And it's just true, right? We have to just, we have to figure it out. And right now, I think I completely agree. The people who will be successful is sometimes you need to throw out what you think you need and just start broadening your net, right? I mean, I'm always a fan of, if you have a smart person, you have a smart person, right? I was talking to someone just this morning who's in the same space as me now, but started out in chemistry, right? People start out in different areas and then they move to something else. And, it's not, so we sometimes get so narrow focused on we need someone with this degree from this school and this many years experience in these types of roles, when really some of the best people that you hire are people who are outside of that space. They bring a different mindset to it, right? So when you have those people combined with people who grew up sort of in that space, that's when the real magic happens. That's when you get this kind of cross-pollination of ideas and thoughts, and really amazing things can happen.